Right? Let's close our eyes and set our intention. Wiggle off all the stresses, all the pressures that we have been through throughout the day, and just be in the session today so that we can soak in this knowledge. We're going to be learning about heart chakra, putting our intention in the heart chakra. Let's take a deep breath in and breath out. नमामि धन्वन्तरिं आदिदेवम् सुरासुरैर्वन्दितपादपद्मम् लोके जरारुग्भयमृत्युनाशम् धातारमीशं विविधौषधीनाम् ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Slightly open your eyes, bring your gaze downwards. Look at your room and see a pattern, color, or anything, and then come back to the computer here. So today we're going to be learning about heart. Heart health is extremely important. Lately I've been hearing a lot of heart attacks, myocardial infarctions, cardiac arrest, stroke, um, a lot of conditions we've been hearing, and a lot of loved ones. And even we are, this is something that we hear often also that, they've been so healthy, they exercise so much, they eat so well, and yet they have this heart condition. They have a heart failure or they have a heart condition. This is something that we hear a lot as well. So understanding what is heart and according to Ayurveda and see how is it that we can protect it is very, very important. That way, we're going to be helping our loved ones also. So Hridaya is considered as heart. Hridaya is located in the left area of, the upper area in the chest. And anything that is constantly moving and allowing to provide nutrients to the body and taking off waste. So this is a constant machine that is running all the time. And this running machine, if it gives up for even few seconds, that's it, right? And we have to remember that there are multiple systems in here. In when we're considering heart, we have to consider that there is a plumbing system. I was talking to one of my clients the other day, and he was like, I have to take care of this with my plumber. And she meant that she was going to a heart doctor where this doctor is taking care of her valves and taking care of her channels, making sure that there's no clots, arteries, making sure that the arterial health is good. And then I was like, okay, tell me, how's your heartbeat? Is the rhythm okay? She's like, oh, that one I have to take care of with my electrician. Right. So this is the electrophysiologist who is able to take care of what is the rate and rhythm of the heart. And there is a mechanical pump as well, right? So there's three systems that is present with heart. The first system that we spoke about is the circulatory system, the plumbing system, where we spoke about how there's always things that go inside and come out. So for that, there's channels that are needed. This is called arteries. There are arteries that provide fresh blood along with nutrients to the entire body, and there are veins that carry all the deoxygenated blood. into the heart region, right? So there's a lot of movement that is happening in the body in terms of all these arteries and veins and movement happening. Now, anywhere anything is stuck, if there is, okay, the diameter of the artery is this much, and in this diameter, there is plaque that is accumulated. When plaque gets accumulated, the diameter gets smaller. The amount of blood has to go through that in that small diameter. What happens to the pressure of the blood at that time when it is going through a smaller diameter? What's happening to the pressure of the blood? Just
Low blood pressure. We have low blood pressure when it's going to something like that.
it actually
It's gonna higher.
it increases, right? Because
Oh,
it
okay.
through the smaller diameter and the amount of blood is the same, so it increases. This is when we see one of the reasons. I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but this is one of the reasons when blood pressure increases. Now imagine that this plaque is completely calcified. It's hardened. When it is hardened, then it's almost permanent that the blood has to go through these arteries very fast all the time. That's what happens to the blood pressure. If this plaque is not hard and it is softer, when anything hits that plaque, if there is some part of the plaque that comes off, then this starts something called an inflammatory response in the body because this is considered as foreign thing in the body. And when this inflammatory response is created, body automatically tries to protect and it creates a blood clot. And if this clot is formed in the coronary artery, then you're going to be receiving this blockage. There's no blood flow to that artery. And depending upon where this artery is supplying blood to, that area is blocked and you're not going to get any supply. And that is called as a myocardial infarction, where there is no oxygen because blood in Ayurveda, when you know, in the beginning days of our class, we spoke about Rakta. Rakta Dhatu, if anybody remembers, provides a function called Jivana Karma. Jivana is providing life force. And if this Rakta is not reaching the essential part of the body, then of course the life force is not reaching it and it's not functioning. And that's when heart stops. When that is happening, it is more of a plumbing system. But if it happens only momentarily and then the clot dissipates and if it continues, then that's okay. It's like, okay, for a brief period of time, you did not receive the supply of blood and you revived again. So this is called like a mini heart attack that can happen, right? So like a myocardial infarction that happens. Now, if this clot is formed in the carotid artery, which is the artery that reaches your brain, then that's when a stroke is formed. Right? So, remembering that it is very important for us to keep all of these structures, all of these arteries clean as much possible is very important. And how are we going to know? What are the blood tests that we need to figure out whether our plaque is there, whether there is plaque, whether there is no plaque? What are the common tests that are done? Traditionally, there is something called a treadmill test that is done. Right? What they do is they make you hook to electrocardiogram and they check the rate and rhythm of your heart. They check how the blood is flowing. And they're like, okay, you don't have any blockages because it allows you to understand what the flow of blood is like. Now, what they do is they make you run on a treadmill and then they'll hook you to an electrocardiogram and see what's happening. When they see any differences between these two, that is when they'll determine that, okay, one of the area is either blocked or not blocked. That's mentioned. But it is this test is is not super accurate, right? Because it is only telling you during that particular time and it is not super accurate. The few tests that I'm going to tell you to get it done, and I know I'm going to talk about Ayurvedic part of heart as well, but I always look at integrative. I always want to make sure that we are looking at the allopathic system for the diagnostics to make sure that we are what our health is at this point. You don't have to do any therapy there. What you have to do is you have to protect yourself with Ayurveda therapies, with Ayurveda principles, right? So one thing, if you have a family history of heart condition, if anybody, your loved ones had heart condition, or if you're over 50, it is important that you get this test called, I'm going to write this down, called CIMT. This is checking, there is a carotid artery that goes here. Carotid intima medial thickness. So when there is an artery, the blood is gushing through. So all of these tests are only checking whether the blood flow is happening properly or not. That is all it is checking. But this carotid artery media thickness, what it is going to be checking is inside these arteries, there are layers in underneath. And under that layers, is there any plaque that's formed or not? Because if this plaque is a soft plaque, and if this soft plaque somehow gets activated and if it goes to the blood stream, that's when blood clot is formed. So you will only be able to see with the treadmill test, what you're seeing is the blood flow happening in the artery properly now or not? There's no blood clot. Yes, it's flowing properly, but you're not seeing if there is any plaque that is internally there, no? So this test is going to be telling you whether there is any plaque and is this hard plaque or soft plaque that is present underneath inside the layers of your carotid artery. That way, this will help you understand what is your future risk of, either a heart attack or a stroke or you will know what is going on and you will be able to take care of yourself at this point. So that is one thing that is very important for you to get checked. Another important test that you would also want to check is something called apolipoprotein B. Apolipoprotein B. This also is going to be telling you the number of cholesterol molecules that are present. Of course, LDL, triglycerides, HDL is something that you always look at, but apolipoprotein B is going to give you the cholesterol load in general. If the cholesterol load is more, and of course, this is what is staying as plaque, and of course, this is what is going to be the precursor for any clot to happen in the future. So this is like a load that you're going to be checking. And of course, the general LDL, triglycerides, and HDL. Another thing that you also want to check is the ratio between total cholesterol and HDL. Because you want to always make sure that the ratio of this is less, meaning if the total cholesterol is 200, you want to make sure that your HDL is at least at 50. So 200 over 50, it's at 4. The lower, the better, right? Because HDL is high density lipoprotein. And that high density lipoprotein is necessary because that is necessary for us to protect ourselves from any of the let me just admit a few people that are just joining right now. It's going to be allowing you to protect you from acids that are present. It's going to be allowing your neurons to be protected. All of this is going to be happening. So this HDL is important. It's like the good kind of cholesterol that is necessary in the body. So these are all few tests that you would want to ask your doctor to get yourself, of course, the treadmill test is something that you can also get checked, but CIMT, apolipoprotein B, LDL, triglycerides, HDL, total cholesterol over HDL, and of course, your blood pressure, all of these you want to check. And you can also check if you have, like a genetic predisposition. 9p21 genetic predisposition to see if this is some gene that you carry. Again, this is not to be scared of at all, just so that we know what is our predisposition and we are going to be careful in the type of foods that we're going to be eating. Okay. This seems more like an allopathic session today than Ayurveda, but we'll move on to Ayurveda also. But I thought that this is important. Um, so that's the plumbing. That's more of the plumbing that we were talking about. Then comes the electricity. Your heart has its own electricity because the atrium has to it has its own machine where it starts that electric rhythm, and when it starts there is a movement that happens into the right ventricle and then into the left atrium and then into the left ventricle, and that's when the blood flows throughout into the body. Now, if this electric signal flowing from the right atrium to the right ventricle to the left atrium to the left ventricle, if this is messed up and if this is disturbed, that's when you see more of arrhythmias. You hear this term called arrhythmia. You hear this term that the pulse is very low, that you're not able to beat, and you hear people getting pacemakers because their heart is not able to pump on its own. It's not able to produce electricity on its own. So, what is this electricity according to Ayurveda? Anybody guess? What is electricity according to Ayurveda? So we spoke about the plumbing. So what is the plumbing according to Ayurveda? Let's talk about plumbing system. What if the plumbing is flowing properly? What is the dosha that allows this plumbing system to flow properly?
Vata.
Vata dosha. Exactly. It is important for any movement to happen in the body. Vata is important. However, there is another dosha called Rakta. It is not a dosha, it is a dhatu. But there is a debate between Ayurveda acharyas also that Rakta must be considered as a fourth dosha. So Rakta is also important in the plumbing, maintenance of the plumbing, both Vata and Rakta. Yeah. Here, more of the Vyana Vayu. This is one of the subdoshas. We spoke about the type of the Vayu. And this one, Vyana Vayu, has to be flowing properly. Now, what is the dosha that is necessary for electricity to happen properly? Pitta. To an extent, you're right. Pitta is there, but really Vata only for this one also. Prana Vayu here, because that's the instigator. It is the Chetana Tattva. It is the initiator, and it is also allowing the rhythm to flow properly. So here pranavayu is important. If pranavayu is not functioning the way it is supposed to, then you will be seeing arrhythmias, and you would have to be regulated using the external methods. So that's the electrical system of the heart. And the third system of the heart is a mechanical system. This mechanical system is the pumping. If the pumping is not happening to its fullest capacity, then the ejection fraction is not going to be as much. No? So there will be always a residue that is left behind. And if the residue is left behind, that is when eventually it lead to heart failure. Eventually, because there is flaccidity in the muscle, because this is a muscle, heart is a muscle. And if there is flaccidity there, then it is not pumping the way it is supposed to. And then the ejection fraction is not proper and it's not able to flow properly. So this pumping also has to happen the way it is supposed to. Now, what is the dosha that is responsible for this pumping mechanism? I know. Unfortunately, Vikas, Asha, and Debanti are the only ones on the computer on or turn their camera on, and I have to ask them only. Others who are, it's more participating. Then it'll be you'll be able to understand this much more better. That's all.
Has to be Vata again.
It is Vata again, along with Kapha this time. Because if kapha is stronger, depending upon the strength of the muscle, is when it is able to also pump properly. Yes, vata is responsible for the pumping, but if the strength of the kapha is not there, then it is not able to, the flaccidity is going to be there, right? The flaccidity of the muscle is because of the kapha not functioning the way it is supposed to function. Here it's called the avalambaka kapha. Avalambaka kapha is a type of the kapha that is going to give strength to the heart because it's functioning all the time. For it to function all the time, it must be getting strength all the time. And the strength that it gives is from the avalambaka kapha. So we spoke about Vyanavayu, we spoke about Pranavayu, and we also spoke about avalambaka kapha. These are the three things. Now, the fourth element that is present is pitta. When we speak about pitta, sadhaka pitta is the pitta that is present here. Okay, and we'll talk in brief about all of these as well. For those of you that do not understand, if this is too much for you, let me know and I can explain the terminology better. But any of you have heard a term called marma before?
Yep, I would.
Yeah. So heart, hridaya, is considered as sadhya pranahara marma. There are many different types of marmas in the body, right? There are 72,000 nadis, and each nadi has many marmas in it. Of course, 108 marmas are present, which are important marmas, but there are many, many marmas present in the body. And some marmas are called rujakara marma. Rujakara marma is when you touch that point, you feel the pain. This is used diagnostically for you to know whether there is sensation or not. If there is no pain, then you know that that area is not functioning properly. That is used for diagnostic purposes. Then some marmas are called as Vaikalyakara marmas. Vaikalyakara marmas are the marmas that when there is any blow to that area, there's deformity that is created. Right? Like that, heart is considered as a Sadhya Pranahara marma, which means instantly death happens when that marma is touched. Right? This marma, that's why, is protected deep inside so that it is not exposed. Now, why do we think cardiac arrests are happening? Sudden death happens. And suddenly, you see that more in the gyms, or you see that early in the mornings, and you see when the person is in a lot of stress. These are all, when you go back and when you look at cardiac arrest, you see either the person is depleted, the person would have not eaten properly, would have traveled too much, would have been in a lot of stress, would have worked out beyond their capacity. Then what happens? There is something called udavarta, which is a hurricane that is created in the body because there is excess wind element that's created. There's no stability at all. I've had a first trimester pregnant that came into the clinic today, and she was experiencing a lot of, anything that she eats, it's vomiting. There's hiccups, there's coughing, there's vomiting. All of this is happening. Now, I'm like, this is classical Udavarta, where things are coming upwards. I always talk about where if everything is staying properly right now, that is because the pressure of the air is normal. If the pressure of air has increased, then it's going to be pushing my laptop also along with it. That is what is being created with excess vata in the body. And that excess vata is created if you have suppressed your urges beyond your limits. The urges are purisha, which is your stool, suppression of your urge of stool, passing stool, suppression of urge of passing urine, suppression of urge of tears, sleep, yawning, sneezing, coughing, even ejaculation. So these are all the things, hunger, thirst, all of these. There are 13 Vegas that are called in Ayurveda, 13 natural urges that are present. And these natural urges, if we do not pay attention to them, and generally when people are going to offices, when you're going to work, you're going to schools, colleges, you hold your urine or your feces until you get home, right? Or you eat on top of you having an urge. That also is going to be creating this, creating a kind of a hurricane. I want you to think about this whirlwind that you're creating, because imagine that there is something that is wanting to go out, but you're stopping, you're creating a traffic jam. So there's more and more and more backup that's created. When there's a backup that's created, when you were talking about a plumbing system, an electrical system, you said Vata must function properly. Now, what's happening to this Vata? It is being blocked because it's not able to flow through. Marga avarodha is what it's called. Marga avarodha, which means there is a blockage that's created. And when that is going down and there is a blockage, then it bounces back up. And when it is bouncing back up, it's going to take all the ingredients that are present there along with it. When this pressure is too much, then it can come and it can hit your, and again, Vata is very sukshma. All of you have to remember this very well, that Vata is the wind element. Wind is very sukshma, very subtle. So only that subtle wind can bounce back and can reach this subtle space that has been protected for a long period of time, which is a marma. That is when cardiac arrest can happen. And that is when it is difficult for us to save this person, right? When you see, Puneet Rajkumar, I think that's the person that we've seen when this person was working out in the gym. I've seen people collapsing in the gym. We see this all the time. And we have seen that Pranavayu and Vyanavayu is responsible for maintenance of the plumbing and the electricity of the heart. And when that is not functioning the way it is supposed to, it is working against us. So and that's why Ayurveda always talks about according to your capacity. According to your capacity is what Ayurveda always talks about. So that is the reason for sudden cardiac arrests and sudden deaths that happen with this. So that's more of the electricity part of it. Any questions so far with the plumbing and the electricity of the heart? Yes, Shubha?
Yeah, you said one for the cardiac arrest, also mornings. I'm just curious on that.
So morning 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. is considered Vata Kala. And evening again, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. is also considered most of the time. I mean, depending on where you're located, that's when you know that it's more space and wind is more active outside. And that is why it is considered Vata Kala, and Vata can be aggravated much more during that time. Later on, when it's 6 a.m. and onwards to 10 a.m. is more Kapha Kala. It is more stable. You become more stable at that time. So that is why it is extremely important for us to sleep during that time, because Vata is generally high during that time. And Vata, when generally high, what are we trying to do? We are trying to pacify things. And that's why we have to sleep, so that more instability is not created, which is why it's important to sleep between 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. That's why mornings are seen. Mornings are seen when you're trying to defecate also, and when you don't defecate, that also happens. And urge of doing extra exercise and stresses. So you observe in all of those people that have probably had any of these, you will be seeing one of these or few of these in them. Of course, obesity and excessive santarpana is one of the causative factors. There's no doubt that is a different. We'll talk about that pathophysiology. the pathophysiology that we are talking about is not something that is spoken very often. And generally, we speak about obesity and we speak about excessive accumulation. All of that is generally spoken, and we'll speak about that later after we take these questions. But I wanted to talk about the less spoken one. Yeah. Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, Debanti.
So, you talked about the natural urges and how suppressing those can have an impact on the heart as well. I'm just curious as to, I'm curious as to how fasting fits into that, because I know that occasionally fasting is prescribed or is part of rituals and things like that. So what's your perspective on that?
Again, too much is always going to be harmful, and doing necessary to be able to cleanse your channels. So it is important that you are cleansing your channels so that the plaque is not accumulated, and that is why fasting is recommended. But I see sometimes that there's extreme fasting, and I was hearing to a podcast the other day, and the host was extremely proud of himself that he fasted for 10 days, and he said, "This is the best I have ever felt in my life." And he was just drinking water throughout and suppressing. And he said the first 3 days was horrible, but afterwards, I have to tell you that the energy that I have is the best I have never had in the past, and my mitochondria is working the best. And I was reflecting on that. I'm like, of course, because you're over agitated and there's a lot of vata in you, and there's a seemingly high energy that you have because there is a lot of vata in you. And this is what allows you to give that creative energy and all of that. But this is not nourishment in a long term. So, of course, you feel like you have a lot of energy at this point, but you're forgetting the point of deterioration and depletion that can happen in a long term. So, again, there is no one size fits all. If you're talking about someone who is very, very strong and who has had a proper Mamsa Dhatu and a proper Meda Dhatu, and they are fasting once a week, and they are absolutely able to function well because they had that sturdy nature in their body, and they're just using this to cleanse. Now, if you're talking about a Vata personality who's already depleted, who's already probably 9,500 pounds, and they are depleted, they don't have enough sleep, they are working out too much, and if they fast, then implications for them, depletion and implications of cardiac arrest or any of these is going to be much more for them. So contextually, we have to make that call. Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about the proper diet for all of these, Asha. And
Yeah, I heard about the term called sclerosis. I cannot pronounce that. Cerlosis. What is that called? What does that mean?
I do not know myself, unfortunately. Lysis is breaking down. Lysis is anything it's breaking down, but I don't know what that sacro means. We'll have to find out and get back to you. I do not know, honestly. But lysis, usually apoptosis or, lysis or any of this leads to, cell death, like a programmed cell death, where you are looking at unnecessary cells that are present in the body. And fasting, what Debanti mentioned, is a programmed way of allowing these unnecessary cells that are not serving you anymore, because automatically in the body, this is a body's intelligence, right? The cell division that happens all the time. But what happens is these cells, they grow in size and they are not going to be beneficial for us anymore. And when they are not beneficial for us, they are taking our real estate in the body. And when they are taking the real estate in the body, that can create all the other mischief. So this the fasting, intermittent fasting, or any of this is prescribed so that this apoptosis can happen, a programmed cell death can happen. But what happens is, if you're not doing this fasting, or if you're not following the proper diet, and if you are having excessive ama in the body or excessive undigested food in the body, this undigested food is recognized as a free radical in the body. Imagine, if you've been in a chemistry lab, and you probably know that when you do a reaction, there is free radicals that are left behind. And these free radicals are those, like these naughty children in the class, that they don't listen. They don't listen, but they need someone to make that mischief. So what they do is they throw a paper on someone, And then someone who is stable and someone who is happily listening to the class is now affected. Now 1 became 2. This free radical now became 2. Then this 2 suddenly becomes 2000. And what happens is that is how DNA mutation happens. And these free radicals that started as 1 take the support from a stable cell that, okay, I want to be stable, and take support from the stable cell. And now this new stable cell has become a free radical. And that's how the chain reaction continues until it goes to a state. If you're not stopping this, if this action is being continued, let's say that you're still continuing the same diet and same lifestyle, and you're not putting any effort to change any of this, then you are going to see that this is going to continue until a DNA mutation happens. And when the DNA mutation happens, that is when you're going to be seeing, things like cancer, things like, all the chronic conditions that we have not seen in the past is seen, because now suddenly new cells that we don't know are being born. Right? So that is
Okay.
what's happening with the inflammation in the body.
Yeah. So say a person got a cancer, does he need to fast?
No. Again,
Okay.
yes, they need to fast, but they have to fast in a programmed way, because you have to fast
As the Ayurvedic perspective, they need to fast.
they need to fast, but they have to fast in a programmed way. They have to
Okay.
fast in such a way that they're allowing their tissues to survive. Their regular tissues must be survived. If you fast too much, then your regular tissues are also suffering, no? So Ayurveda talks about drinking milk. Of course, you have to make sure that you're getting very good quality milk, and you get the A2 organic good quality milk, boil it,
Mhm.
and add
Mhm.
some sunti to it, add some guduchi to it, add some, gold coin to it. Make sure that it is all proper, and then drink that.
Mhm.
It's a wholesome food.
Okay.
Or
Is it okay to drink once in a time, or we need to drink twice? Twice in
it again depends on each person, no? So I cannot generalize it, but generally 2 to 3 times is okay. But again, you have to make sure that you're working with an Ayurvedic practitioner and work that way, whatever you're given.
Mhm.
Asha, I know you're working with us, and we're providing that to you, but it is not the same thing that I can tell everybody. It's different for everybody, depending upon the stage and depending upon what their capacity is. So eating cooked food is important. Eating
Mhm.
soups is important. Drinking milk is important. And also allowing you to eat raisins and dates that are soaked to reduce the radiation, to reduce that inflammation in the body is important. Always make sure that there is fire in the body and you're fireproofing yourself.
Mhm.
What can I do to fireproof?
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Manju, one question.
Yes.
How much does the blood pressure fluctuation contribute to our, this heart attack and stroke?
So blood pressure fluctuation, blood pressure can happen due to multiple reasons. It is not just one reason. We have to make sure that we look at what is the causative factor for that. If the causative factor is because of excessive food intake, excessive stress, then you have to make sure that you are controlling it. How are you controlling it? You are making sure that you're eating proper diet. You're making sure that you're doing the activities to reduce your stress, right? Because these are all the precursors for it. Now, if you are pumping excessive blood into the arteries all the time, then of course the heart is going to be impacted, because heart is the seat of Rasavaha Shrotas, which is the plasma that's present in the body, and prana. So it is going to be affected in a long term, but you have to make sure that are we doing all the activities that is necessary to reduce my blood pressure, which could be related to my stress? Am I breathing every day? Breathing, of course, we do every day. Thank God that it's an involuntary thing. If it's a voluntary thing, then we would be looking at what is it doing? Am I being productive or not? And we forget doing that also. Thank God that palpitations, the heart rhythms and all of this are all involuntary functions. Imagine if we were given the choice of whether you breathe or not, then that there's chaos, right? So voluntarily, are you including your breath work? Voluntarily, are you checking what are the stresses that are happening around you? Voluntarily, are you changing your daily routine? Absolutely, I have seen that there's changes in blood pressure with this. Following proper sleep schedule, following proper breath work, following proper eating schedule. These are all the major things. When you do that, then you're automatically bringing your blood pressure back to normal. Automatically, you don't have to have the fear. Now, what happens is if you're not doing that, then there's always a fear. What if this is not regulated? What if this is going to be affecting my heart? What if this is happening? And then the loop continues. If this loop continues, then that fear, chinta, shoka, bhaya, these are the three things that depletes your ojas. Ojas is your nectar that is protecting you from any of these external things. And if this is depleting you, then it's going to be even worse, right? So the first thing that I'm going to say is, yes, blood pressure is going to be affecting your heart in a way that it is not going to be, we were talking about flaccidity of the muscle. Flaccidity can happen. Or there is too much work that your heart is doing. Palpitations can happen as well. But blood pressure is not the cause. That's what I'm talking about. It is not the cause. What is the cause? We have to go back and look at the cause, and we're going to be fixing that. You cannot fix blood pressure. You're going to be fixing it by fixing other things, which are the stresses and the foods and meditations and the breath works and taking your herbs and doing your therapies, and all of this is important, if that makes sense.
Which becomes extremely difficult with this modern days lifestyle.
So it is all in our hands. Our modern day lifestyle is all in us. How are we showing up to the world? We will be the changes. We'll be the trailblazers. We'll show the world how we're supposed to live. The world is going to be looking at us and say they're like, we have to make them jealous. How are they happy all the time? How are they stress-free all the time? We start at home. And of course, I'm not going to say that we're all living in Himalayas and we have to go all the way to the Himalayas and we can all, live there. That's not what I'm saying. But
yeah, say my diet, like
sorry, Asha,
I was suggested.
Sorry, Asha, I think Debanti's hand was up
Oh,
before.
so
Debanti.
sorry.
So I had a quick question, right? Manju, you talked about obviously the physiological things like not suppressing urges and eating correctly and so on and so forth. And then you also talked about Chinta, Bhaya, and
Shoka.
Shoka. And so does Ayurveda, we hear a lot about, certain big stressors, generating a heart attack in somebody. You see this kind of stuff in the movies. Does Ayurveda ascribe sort of relative importance to the two, like physiological disturbances versus psychological, emotional disturbances? Which one wins out?
It absolutely does. And I'll tell you that psychological disturbances has a higher role than the physiological disturbances. The first sutra in Ayurveda starts with Ragadi Rogan Satatanushaktan Asheshakaya Prasrutan Asheshan Autsukya Mohar Atidan Chakana Yo Purva Vaidyaya Namostu Tasmaihi. It says Raga Adi Rogan, attachment, greed, jealousy, lust, anger, all the shad ripus are all prevailing all over my body. Ragadi Rogan Satata Anushaktan. Aseshakaya, it is pervading all over my body. Prasrutan Aseshan, and it is creating moha, confusion, arati, restlessness, And all of this is creating a problem in my body. Yo Vaidya, please help me get rid of all my Shad Ripus. That is the very first sutra that is mentioned in Ayurveda. So, Ayurveda talks about Roga has two adhishtanas. The two adhishtanas is Manas and Sharira. Manas adhishtana and Sharira adhishtana. And they're saying that anything that is affected in your mind, I see Debanti is always so good. She answers all the questions very well. I don't know all the answers. I am not so good. If I think about it, I'm thinking Chinta. And that Chinta is going to be creating a neurotransmitter that is going to be affecting my vulnerable spot of the body. I might get shoulder pain because of that, because my shoulder is vulnerable. My blood pressure might increase because of that, because my blood pressure is vulnerable. My neck pain. So anything can increase because depending upon my vulnerability, right? This opposite is also true. I cut myself and there is a big bruise that is there. I'm trying to, I'm trying to get rid of it, but my body's energy is being used to heal that. Now, there is not a lot of energy to control my emotions. So it is now affecting, oh my God, this is happening. Oh, this is happening. And then I think about my cut, and that is going to create bhaya, fear. Am I going to get out of this? Am I ever going to get out of this? Am I ever going to get out of this? That's going to create fear. So your body and mind, both of them are connected, physiological and psychological. But because psychological is more sukshma, more subtle is more, either it can be dangerous or it can be better, right? Because it can get you better like that. And that's why I'm talking about the breath work so many times, because that's subtle also. Anything that's gross, you have to go through the traffic jam. You have a big truck and you're going through the traffic jam, you will never be able to get through it. You have a small bike and you can get through it. So physiological can create problems, but it's not as much as psychological. And this is very much mentioned in Ayurveda. And that is why Ayurveda talks about all of these techniques, about how, yes, modern day, but it is important that we address all of these. Yeah. Very good. So many questions. I think we have to do part 2 of the heart. I did not speak about all of the things that I wanted to speak. Shubha.
Yes, I have a two-part question, and you can, I don't want to hog too much time
No,
for
that's
the
okay.
others. One, there is younger people seem to be getting more cardiac arrest, and I don't have the numbers, but you mentioned about exercise and other things. So I'm just curious, your take on that, younger people. Secondly, diabetes. When someone is diabetic, they don't feel the heart issues as much. And that I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah.
Also, because here, unfortunately, in US, they don't do as part of your general physical, they don't ask you to do any heart-related test.
Yeah.
Some people have to go pay. A lot of us don't do that, or they go to India and they do the full scan and get all those things. So, unfortunately, I wish, as even at after 50 or something, if the physical exercises, physical exams can cover something to pre-detect
Yeah.
this thing, which is currently lacking.
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Now, for your two-part question, for the first part question about how younger generation is getting this, unfortunately, younger generation is a generation that is also consuming a lot of processed food and not sleeping well. I mean, generally, if I speak with my son who is a 19-year-old goes to bed at 2. If he goes to bed at 2, then that's sooner. Right? And I'm like, why don't you go to bed sooner? And he's like, well, that's the time that everybody goes to bed. That's the normal, right? Like what Shishir was talking about, this modern life. How can we change this modern life? So with that, so no lack of sleep or not sleeping at the right time, not eating the right foods. When these processed foods are eaten, your liver is taxed. Liver is something that has to break down foods. And if you're not breaking it down properly, then it is going to be stayed back in the body as ama visha. That's what's called as, like a toxin in the body. And this toxin is something that can trigger an inflammatory response. And that inflammatory response can create a blood clot. And if that blood clot goes and attacks, your carotid artery or your coronary artery or any area, then that's going to be a problem. And excessive workout, like you have mentioned, protein powders that, loads of protein powders that they've been taking, which is not, so the problem is two-part. And there is a lot of anxiety and depression. There's a lot of anxiety and depression in the younger generation as well. So when you're looking at lifestyle that is not being led properly, coupled with anxiety and depression, coupled with weaker tissues that are being, it's like if you have a proper car, you want to be getting a proper gas, the gas that is the premium gas that you're going to be putting it in. But if you're not feeding your tissues with premium gas, then you cannot allow them to come to your rescue. So that vulnerability is being created. And unfortunately, that is the reason that we're seeing that in the younger generation, where there's obesity, you're seeing PCOS, you're seeing that there is diabetes, you're seeing insulin resistance, you're seeing, and you're also seeing the heart attacks and strokes as well, unfortunately. And that is why we have to be the trailblazers, and it is our responsibility now that we have learned this science, that we have to educate people. Again, when you're educating, you are not expecting them to change. Very important. Because this comes very often. Like you get agitated that why are they not understanding it? I learned it now. They have to get it. So educate and ignore is the mantra. I have to follow it in the house. I have 2 teenagers myself, right? Now, your second part question about diabetes, and even that is the same thing, where there's insulin resistance. And when insulin resistance, there is a lot of your free sugar that is flowing in the body, which is not available for your organs. Your organs are crying and screaming for more nutrition. Well, there is nutrition, they don't have a way of taking it because there's no insulin to be able to be converting this. So there is not enough glycogen that is present in your tissue. So your tissues are weak again. There's a lot of glucose that is flowing freely in the body. Then of course that is going to be causing more of the circulatory problems are going to be happening here. Like plumbing issues are going to be happening here. And of course, that's why we spoke about how it's important to understand how much plaque is there. Blood tests are very, very important. That's why I'm very big on providing diagnostic tests. There are more diagnostic tests that I wanted to talk about, but maybe we'll do a part 2 and we'll talk about all those diagnostics. And unfortunately, many, many times I recommend my clients that, get all of these tests done, but many times they get refused by the primary care. And I tell them there's something called privatemdlabs.com. I say, you can just pay it out of the pocket and get it done there, or get it done when you're in India, just like you mentioned. Yeah. Good. We have 4 minutes. Let's see how we can answer Asha and Vikas's questions. Asha.
Yeah. My question is, say, like I follow Ayurvedic diet as prescribed. So say evening I'm not able to eat. Is it okay to skip that part of meal? Does it affect me?
So it is okay. You can instead eat clear soups, like a mung
Okay.
soup or a butternut squash soup or a sweet potato kale. So something that is nourishing yet not very heavy. So it's okay
Not
to
very
eat a soup when you're not having that hunger.
Mm-hmm.
That way
Okay,
you're
okay.
still nourishing your tissues.
Got it. So that is important. I have to eat something.
Like a soup. Again, eat something like a very, very small thing. That way you're sustaining.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Oh yeah. Thank you. That was my question. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Vikas.
So you mentioned about the breath works a bit. Just trying to get it the full importance of it. Is the dots being emotional regulation and again, the prana aspect, which is driving the heart health in general. That's one part that I could get. Is there more to it, or could you please,
Absolutely.
put
Absolutely.
more emphasis on it if you could?
Absolutely. So there are koshas. There are 5 koshas in the body. The physical form that you're seeing right now is Annamaya kosha, right? Beneath that there is a Pranamaya kosha, and beneath that is a Manomaya kosha, right? And the Bhanti was asking about how is psychological affecting your physiological health. The psychological is affecting your physiological health using the means of prana. Your breath is the connection between your mind and the body. And you see this all the time. Whenever you are stressed out, either you stop breathing or you breathe faster. And that is how your body is getting a signal that, okay, Vikas is stressed out right now. You have to release this neurotransmitter. You have to make sure that he is all stable. You have to release. So that's what happened. That's when cortisol rise happens. That's when, your body is trying to regulate, thinking that it's regulating because it's a smart machine. Now, when you're doing the opposite, you're regulating your prana. You want to make sure that you're regulating your prana, and that prana, you are telling your mind that, okay, things are all calm. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Yes, there is chaos that's happening. Yes, my boss is expecting that I have to do this, but Manju is saying that I have to cook fresh meals every day because I have to maintain my health, and I got this, right? So you have to make sure that you are maintaining that proper stability in the mind, and that stability you're going to be deliberately creating by regulating your breath, because we spoke about how it is subtle. And manomaya kosha, how can I go and how can I tell your emotion? I mean, you already know what you have to do. I cannot tell you don't stress because, don't be sad because, don't be angry, don't be greedy. I cannot tell you that. You know that already. By regulating your breath, you are regulating your emotions also, and thus you are allowing your psychological and physiological to help properly. And again, there are many other techniques called Shirodhara, there's Marma Chikitsa. There are also modulators like Ashwagandha, Brahmi, Shankhapushpi. These are all the modulators that are present in Ayurveda that allows the modulation to happen. But this is the tool that we have within ourselves, and you don't have to go anywhere. And that's why I'm a strong proponent of that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Asha, we're at 7 p.m. One quick last
Yeah.
question you can answer.
Yeah. So cooking fresh meals, is it very important for some patients, like people who have cancer and everything?
What do you want me to answer?
The cooking fresh meals. Every day, do I need to cook fresh meals, or can I eat the meals? That
Like
is
Shishir is
that.
saying, what is important to you? Your health.
Yes.
When we get to that stage, it is
Mm-hmm.
like, of course, that is important, because having that because when you are cooking a food, what are you doing? You're activating the energy in it. And
Mm-hmm.
that activation of energy is only available for a certain period of time. And
Okay.
this energy is necessary for our body to function.
Mm-hmm.
So, as much possible, that is what I would say. Even though whatever I'm doing, I eat the simplest of the meals if necessary. But
Mm-hmm.
cooking fresh is the most important thing. Yeah, I mean, you can cook
Got it.
once a day if necessary, but at least once
Okay.
is necessary.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, if
Yes.
this
Yes.
is
I just
causing
want to know
stress,
that.
if this is causing
Because
stress, think
sometimes
about
the
it.
people say you're just wasting food in the food. So I just
Again, you
wanted
have
to
to
know.
make sure that you prepare the quantities. I'm not saying that you have to go
Mm-hmm.
extremist. I'm not saying that I never take out the food from the fridge and I never eat it. I had some soup
Mm-hmm.
that's left from last night. I'm going to eat that right now. I am making fresh
Mm-hmm.
soup right now, but I have some
Mm-hmm.
left over. I'm not going to waste it. But I always want to make sure that I am preparing as much needed when cooking,
Mm-hmm.
because
Got it.
that's how we would be
Mm-hmm.
cooking, right? So
Got
there's
it.
more
Yeah, that
practical.
was my important question. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you had another last
Yeah,
question.
just another one. So you mentioned about all the tests and really appreciate you going into all the detail. Is there something similar in Ayurveda, let's say, that we can do via Nadi prediction itself? Let's say if I can go to a certain Nadi or a certain point, that I'd be able to know the percentage of blockage in the three, the major ones that I, looked upon by the allopathic, tests. Uh, is there a kind of a similar practice that can be done? Because if it's a Nadi prediction, probably I can train myself also, probably do it at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's your take?
A- Absolutely possible, Vikas. However, this requires a lot of siddhi for us to be able to understand the nuances of the nadi. I will be very honest, I don't have that skill. Yes, I can look at what is the rhythm of your pulse. Is it vata? Is it pitta? Is it kapha? And how is the rhythm of pitta? How is the rhythm of vata today? Those are all the things that I have, but I do not have the nadi vigyan of going and understanding what your each organ is functioning like. However, that is present. I mean, there are Vaidyas that are able to do that, but you have to be practicing that only for many years for you to be able to get that siddhi. And I did not go that route, but that is theoretically possible for me, practically possible for me to just know what this person's pulse is like. Is there more vata? Is there pitta? Is there kapha? But I will not be able to check the plaque in your carotid artery or coronary artery using nadi. I don't have that skill, but that is possible for some of the Vaidyas who have dedicated their life to just this skill only.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Perfect. All right, so I'm glad that you are all very excited and you're all inquisitive about all of this. That allows me to. I almost wanted to, skip this month because I'm traveling. I'm traveling to Dubai, and there's a World Ayurveda Congress. Ministry of India and Ministry of Ayush in India is working really hard to promote Ayurveda. They've allotted $1 million budget for this conference, and they've invited me from California. So I'm going there on Friday and then to India. So all of that is happening, and that's why I was like, I don't have a Monday. Should I skip it? But I know that all of you are looking forward to the session, so I thought that I'll do it on a Tuesday. So thank you so much for joining here today.
Do something for FDA to approve this here.
So again, I also serve as a president of California Association of Ayurvedic Medicine, and we're working on licensure, right? So that way it is more approachable for many of the clients. So let's see what happens. There's a lot of work that's happening in the background.
It should happen. The conventional medicines fail on many things, and if they fix one thing, they give you 20 other different problems.
Sure, sure. But then again, I also want to make sure that I commend them for their diagnostics. So I always want to make sure that we are using the best of the both worlds. How are we?
No, definitely. For the
Yeah,
diagnosis purposes, you need those scientific, but the medicines are, many of them are poisons.
correct. I know. Unfortunately, I worked as a pharmacist. I worked in the research and development of pharma. I did my master's in pharmaceutics, so I do know what goes on in all of this. So
I lost my all faith in last couple of years. Anyway, we'll talk when we meet.
yeah, absolutely.
One question I saw in one of your newsletters about some Ayurveda event in March or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. We have a conference happening. So
So for a general person like us who are just kind of curious about Ayurveda and other things, is that beneficial? Because I saw there's quite a few speakers and it's a
yeah, we're
multi-day
inviting.
event, and
Yeah,
any
it's a 3 day.
suggestions?
It's a 3 day event, and we are inviting speakers from all over the world. And there's multiple topics that we are having. You're more than welcome to join, depending upon what your schedule is, depending upon if you can dedicate your time, you're more than welcome to join. It will be beneficial, of course. It'll be more deep dive, and you'll be able to talk to a lot of people because all the Ayurveda geeks will be there, and you'll be able to geek out on Ayurveda all the 3 days. So you're more than welcome to join. We also have a public event that we are planning on Sunday afternoon, which is a Mela, where it's a free event where we're inviting the public to come in and where we will have some, a lot of Ayurveda people where you'll be able to meet
Yeah.
all of these booths.
Last event I wasn't able to attend because I was traveling, so I
Yeah.
wanted to see if I can join this time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there any discount that you're offering for the paid portions?
Unfortunately, I think the early bird ended on February 6th, I think.
Okay.
Right now the early bird ended. I don't even know how much it is right now. I think it's
Okay, not a problem. Yeah,
yeah.
no problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to mainly see if it'll be helpful for
Yeah, it is more of geeking out on Ayurveda. If you're, it's definitely for more Ayurveda professionals, and if you're serious in Ayurveda and if you want to, but you will be able to understand it much more. And I always think that the reason I'm able to have freedom is because I have the knowledge of all of this. So knowledge is always something that provides you with freedom, and that's why I'm offering all of this as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Perfect. You had a last comment, Vikas?
Yes, just another last one. So there's a device that is getting popular. I've seen in a couple of conferences, which measures if you put it on the wrist, it gives you a decomposition of the nadi, kind of the analysis of the thing.
I actually had that.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just want your thoughts on it. Is it good enough, or is it completely nuisance, or is it somewhere in between the spectrum? What are your thoughts on it?
I would say somewhere in between the spectrum. I did not end up using it. It's called Nadi Yantra. I can't remember the name of it. Abhishek is
Yeah.
the one who did it. So, and there are a lot of new technologies that are coming out. And when I go to Dubai this time, I'm going to be seeing more of the new technologies that are coming out. However, I have always, I mean, I've tried using it. I genuinely wanted to. I'm like, I don't want to put my mind in it. I genuinely wanted to try it. That particular one that I tried did not work out for me, but I'm sure there are new ones that are coming out and that might be helpful. If I see something in Dubai and if I find, I'll let you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent, everybody. So we'll see you all next month.
Thank you,
All
Manju.
right. Have
Thanks
a
so
Safe
much.
travels. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.